As we move further on into the Trump era, more and more changes are sweeping our nation. President Trump recently released a new budget proposal that involves cutting or eliminating from over 60 federal programs. What is the catch, you may ask? For all the cuts that President Trump is planning on making, he's adding just as much money to his budget for the military. Well, that's interesting. I guess that means this new plan of his won't be cutting any federal spending at all. In more lighthearted news, our favorite MSNBC reporter Rachel Madcow just had one of the biggest epic fail moments in recent history. Last week she teased that she would soon release President Trump's 2005 tax returns on her show. In a brilliant response, the White House both beat her to the punch and showed that President Trump not only paid his fair share of taxes, but that he paid more than Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders. I think it's safe to say that Rachel Madcow got wrecked. All this and much more in today's episode.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Darian, and this is the Hunter and Darian Show.
So Trump's new budget has added $54 billion to the military in military spending. That's a 10% boost for the military, and it's largest since President Ronald Reagan's Pentagon buildup in the 1980s. He's cutting the Department of Education budget by 31.4%, or $2.6 billion. There's a decrease in the Environmental Protection Agency budget by 12.5%, which is $9 billion. And he cut the National Endowment for the Arts, the African Development Foundation, the Global Climate Change Initiative, and there's many other programs that he cut. And if you look at this in a chart, which I did earlier, it kind of shows like how much he is actually cutting. But what he is cutting in most other agencies is just going straight into the military. And a lot of people believe this is a problem because there's not a lot of money going into education. He's actually cutting education, so that creates a lot of hysteria in people because they see like, oh, we want a better education, which makes sense. But what I see as a justification for an increase in military spending is if we don't have a large amount of defense, who's to say that we're not appearing weak to other nations? And I say that because even if we say we don't have any large threats right now, who do we need to fear right now? ISIS, the Russians? Like there hasn't been a large 9/11 sized terrorist attack since 9/11. So, but what I'd say to that is, why would we deplete our military spending just because we don't see any threats? And the reason I say that is because if there was a threat, they wouldn't make that as clear to us, because if we're going to raise our military spending because of that threat, that would be our enemy's worst enemy because they wouldn't want us to increase our military spending. That makes us harder to wage war against. So in that case, I'd say we always have to have a strong military no matter what. Now, in the way of cutting all these budgets in order to fund the military, I'd say maybe increasing the education budget or giving some money and then cutting a short amount of the military isn't ridiculous, if that makes sense. But in the large grand scheme of things, I would say that the military is a good thing to have largely funded.
So my take on that, I don't like this, personally I disagree with Hunter, I don't like this $54 billion 10% boost in this military budget. I think it's largely unnecessary. The United States by far is the most powerful military in the world. That continues to be a fact. That has continued to be a fact for many years and still will be for a long time. As for Trump, President Trump cutting the Department of Education budget by 31.4%, which is $2.6 billion, with the premise of what him and the Republican administration, what they said the reason for that was that they wanted to go and encourage school choice in charter schools. While good in concept, I just hope they actually, put this into effect, because I don't like the Department of Education in a lot of ways, because a lot of the money just gets wasted on government bureaucracy and teachers unions and such. But if they're going to be cutting this budget, they better be doing something better, and that's what I'm worried about, whether they can actually pull that off or not. Also cutting the budget of the Environmental Protection Agency, that I don't mind at all. I really don't like the EPA in a lot of ways, as bad as that sounds. I do care about the environment, but they often tend to pass a lot of ridiculous regulations that car manufacturers can't keep up with, and this translates to many other issues such as job loss and stuff like that, and that's something I don't like. As for all those little programs he cut, National Endowment of the Arts, Global Climate Change Initiative, etc., I don't really mind. I mean, there's a problem when you haven't even heard of these government agencies in the first place, a lot of these government agencies in the first place. Maybe they shouldn't be government agencies, It just seems like a lot of creating of wasteful spending and stuff like that for stuff that could just be privately funded. And while I do like those, and him cutting those things, I can't really support it because he just took all that money that he used to cut those things and then went and just stuck it in the military. So I don't like that he's not lowering federal spending, and with the conservative agenda, that really should be the case.
And that's what Rand Paul has been arguing these past few weeks, especially against Marco Rubio. is that that's not really in line with the conservative values of cutting if you're just going to move all the money that you just made from the cuts to the military. And that's just a large debate going on between both the left and the right and everything. And it's just a really split ideal there. Now we'll move on to President Trump's 2005 tax returns, which, as Darian said in the monologue, she got pretty heavily wrecked.
She was wrecked, yeah. Biggest epic fail in recent history, I'd say. So basically, MSNBC Rachel Maddow, she sent out a tweet teasing that she was going to release Trump's 2005 tax returns in her next episode. So the White House, decided, oh, okay, well, we'll do it first. So they beat her to the chase. They revealed that Trump made over $150 million in 2005, but get this, he paid $38 million in income tax. Well, what does that mean? So this was a rate of about 24% of his income. President Obama paid 19% in income taxes, and get ready for this, Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders paid 13%. That is Trump paid almost double the percentage that Bernie did. So that's really interesting. That this is one of the largest talking points of both Bernie Sanders' campaign and especially Hillary Clinton's campaign was that Donald Trump, people like Donald Trump and the wealthy people like him were cheating the system and screwing over the middle class and not paying their fair share. But Trump is paying double what Sanders did, nearly double what Sanders did. So that talking point is pretty much gone now.
Yeah, that was very funny to see Rachel Maddow get wrecked like that. But that's as I see that it's good that Trump made over $150 million in 2005 and then paid that 24% tax rate. Like, I'm a little hesitant as to where his other tax returns are and if he did pay that amount and why the White House released only that tax return and haven't released anything else, and why it took Rachel Maddow in order to say that in order for him to release it. But I'm glad to see that at least all of his tax returns have these Russian connections that the left keeps equating with his taxation or his taxes. So yeah, So I'm still looking for Trump to release more of his tax returns because I think that would not only be great for his re-election cycle, so he could say, yeah, I released my tax returns, but so we can also see if there is any corrupt activity going on with his when he's paying his taxes.
Yeah. In other news, so there's some beef in the Senate going on recently. So Senator John McCain actually accused Senator Rand Paul of working for the Russians when he refused to agree with him on a bill he was trying to pass. Yeah, thought that was interesting. Kind of a ridiculous accusation in my opinion. Thought I'd share that with you guys.
Yeah. So yeah, McCain is our senator here in Arizona. So
yeah,
he's been. I think he's. I don't know exactly the amount of terms he's served in there, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah, and Rand Paul actually said that John McCain was a good case for term limits, so that was a pretty sick burn right there.
And I support term limits. I think that there should be term limits for every office in government, but that's an argument for a different day.
Yeah.
So let's move on now to anything and everything. So you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I forgot to mention last episode, some of you might notice this snazzy new haircut of mine. That was given to a really good friend of mine named Devin Rubino, so shout out to Devin. Thank you so much for that haircut. Really kind of him. He does a great job. And he actually told me this was his bad haircut and that he didn't have as good clippers. So, I mean, if this is his bad haircut, he's pretty dang good. So I really appreciate him for that.
And I was there. I witnessed it. He seemed like he knew what he was doing. And, yeah, very, very messy. Darian has some thick hair, so it was everywhere. It looked like a dog had just gotten groomed.
Yeah, for real.
So yesterday I went to an LPGA tournament. That LPGA stands for Ladies Professional Golf Association, so for women. That was the first time I'd ever been to one, so that was kind of cool. I'd been to PGA tournaments before, but that was kind of interesting going to the LPGA. A lot less people, so it was a little more manageable to walk around and stuff. I got to see some pretty prominent figures in the ladies golf community. Got to try some water from South Korea. They hyped it up a lot. They were like sampling it, and there was like people talking about it, and I was expecting like it to taste like the Fountain of Youth or something, and then like I tasted it, and it literally tasted like nothing different than like Aquafina. So I was like, nice. Okay, good. So South Korean water is pretty much like American water. Yeah, so that's about it for the LPGA.
Happy Persian New Year, guys, for any of you that might celebrate that. It's this Tuesday. I'm kind of excited, but unfortunately I can't celebrate it because I don't live with my family and there aren't many Persians here in Arizona, but you know, it's all good. There are people celebrating it around here and stuff, but it's kind of hard because I don't know many. But you know, that's cool. For those of you who might not know what it is, it's kind of like, just think of like Christmas and the New Year and maybe Halloween also combined. Basically, people go around, you know, they celebrate the New Year. Older people give gifts to little kids, which usually in Persian New Year it's always money. And kids also go around to houses for treats. That mainly happens in Iran, not here, you know, for obvious reasons, because it's not Halloween here. But yeah, so you know, that's cool. So thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. Thank you all, and God bless America.